on Facebook, and so we're in the social part of marketing our website and Floresville.
Are the properties all in the industrial park, or where are they?
No, the FEDC owns one 2-acre lot on Lone Oak Drive, which is,
Oh, okay.
Just in front of me.
Okay, I know where that is.
and then we have 5.8 acre lots in front of the Veterans Home.
Okay,
And then we have two 11.8 acre tracts left in the 305 acre industrial park.
okay, thank you.
And all of those are on the market, of course.
What's the potential total revenue? So we can know how much to spend.
I'm marketing the building, the business lots at $30,000 a lot, which is a little over $1 a square foot. I've had a couple of calls, but no callbacks.
Any different appraisals on them?
What's that,
That's right.
Fred?
I had a question, yes. But on those lots, the main intention is to be able to get businesses out here, not necessarily just to sell land, right?
Okay, I'd like to inject something. The previous board, I brought this up probably in February or March of last year, that we put prices on the properties, to work with. And, because he can't, it leaves him in a very, very difficult situation. Because if he shoots a price over the phone or over the email, he can only speculate that we're gonna support him at that price that he gives. Last year it was decided that we didn't want to give him a firm price to work with. And so I was overruled when it came to pricing the properties. And it makes it difficult because I've been in sales, and if you don't have a price to give somebody who calls on a
My
piece of
point
property.
is not necessarily the price on it, but that the intention of having those pieces of land to us, and I think should be, for us to use as incentives to sell or do whatever to bring businesses in, not just to sell land.
But
right?
I agree with you, but in saying that, you can't let, you
No, I
can't,
understand- I understand what you're saying.
it puts in, how low is too low
No, I understand
to
the price.
the
I'm
entire
not-
board.
I'm not even quibbling with
Yeah.
price,
And,
I'm simply saying.
the way I've approached that is I've simply said to those interested, the last sale of one of these lots was $30,000. And that was 2.5 years ago.
Right.
So I'm not pegging myself to a price,
No.
but
And
I'm
again-
saying, that's our last sale, that's a fact, and you can go from there. Now, I'll tell you in a minute, under my report, but Ray and I spent a tremendous amount of time showing Toyota about 18 different properties, and they said we can't spend over 20,000 an acre.
Whereas it was 25.
And basically, there were very few pieces of property that people were willing to sell for anywhere around 20,000 an acre, and that wasn't on frontage. So,
How many jobs were they offering?
I'm sorry.
How many jobs were they offering?
2?
2 jobs and maybe.
Start with 2 and up to 1,000.
Yeah. But
Well, it was 2 and a lick and a promise, and that was that.
2, and it's for $10,000 an acre?
20,000. But they wanted prime property, they wanted the,
No, I think we offered.
Yeah, we offered 10,000, and they build a 60-foot bridge across the drainage easement, and their plan that they told us was for the first year to have 2 or 3 people in a warehouse and load the warehouse, and after that, they would build a new building and start injection molding of auto parts. plastic injection molding. And when that happened, then more people came on and so forth. We've come to find out that we're nowhere near on the same timeline with them. They wanted us to hurry up and get things done overnight, and I talked to the president of Toyota in San Antonio, and he said, yeah, I know we're behind, but we're still interested in that property, you know, but I haven't heard anything since then.
But this is a
Haven't seen the contract.
subcontracting company, this is not
It's not
Toyota
Toyota
itself.
Direct, it's a subsidiary of or something.
And there's 2 11-acre tracts out there at the industrial park. Marketing them is very hard because you're gonna have to put in a very expensive entrance to get across because it has that drainage in front of the property.
Well, that was the idea behind selling it for $10,000, is they were gonna.
Yeah, and that's why the prices are, you know, and I believe there was also, they were concerned about being on sewer. If they expanded, you know, they wouldn't have city sewer, they'd be on septic, and I think there was a concern with that.
But their size, you could put septic all day long, that'd not be a problem. So
Well,
clarification
two,
with
but
Scott's
not
points
that.
was that, about pricing of the dirt, is we have to be cautious that we don't just label this at this price, because an investor comes in and just picks everything we have up. Our motive is to sell land to people, and to bring business to Floresville. There's no incentive for us to sell all the land, and then we have nothing to offer anybody.
No, you're right.
So we need to use that bargaining chip to say, well, we can help you a little, just sell this a little softer, but.
We can
bring
set
the
it with
people.
conditions though.
I understand that, but the conditions need to be put into the package of the pricing.
But again, I think what you're saying is right, you know, the whole intent is to bring businesses.
That's right.
And we have this land, hopefully, you know, where they want it, need it, and an incentive that we can use to bring the businesses.
Right, and
I
a
think-
question that I always ask is, you know, the number of jobs created and so forth from the front end, because I don't want to wait till later and then we get into contract money negotiations and then they inflate that.
Well-
I'd rather hear it from
And the reason I'm saying what I'm
get-go.
saying is when we say we're marketing the land or we're, you know, advertising the land, it should be only in conjunction with our business, and that is bringing business.
That's right.
Okay.
But, you know, and the board needs to just remember what you're saying
Yeah.
when we get a contract in, that, you know, that the first objective is jobs, and the second, and the most important is not profit, but it's creation of jobs and bringing those in.
Right.
It's a
So,
benefit to the city.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
We're not just selling land to make.
That's
money.
other. One problem, I inadvertently skipped citizens' comments. I apologize for that. Does anyone have any citizens' comments?
We've already talked about it, no, I'm just.
My mistake, and I'll take the full blame for it.
No, you're right, thank you.
Anybody? Thank you.
So that Toyota is spelled properly then?
Yes, it's not Toyota, it's a different one.
Toyota.
yes, that's how they
Okay.
spell it
So we're
in San
past that.
Antonio.
So we'll have to just scratch all the misspelled here, right?
Right. No, but it's interesting. Ray and I heard the story.
It's a good deal.
Basically, that's how the 4 Toyota families after World War II started Toyota automobiles. That's how they spelled their last name. And so they added the T instead of the D when they decided to come to the US. But the factory in San Antonio is spelled with the D. And it has something after Toyota behind it, but it's too darn confusing and get into lineage and all that stuff. But anyway,
Moving on to committee reports, I think we have none. Tell me your executive officer's report, please.
this is, the first one is what I just talked about a minute ago with Toyota president calling me and saying that basically the guy that we dealt with, Dennis, has moved to Brownsville, and so they've lost some time, but that he wanted me to know they were still interested. I repeated the deal to be sure there wasn't anything lost in translation. And put him in touch with the county for the development standards that the county will require them to operate under. And the next move I fully expect is a hard contract. Let's see.
I just had one question, man. How did that come about? You went looking for this company, or they came
No.
to us, or which way?
Let's see.
It was a cold call, they called us.
Yeah, they called.
But they called us and they called everybody else in
Yeah,
town
they
the
called
same day.
everybody, yeah, they called everybody.
I mean, anybody that had a phone number, they called.
And I can tell you that their first priority was natural gas, city water, city sewer. We showed them probably, out of 18 sites, probably 5 or 6 that were in the city limits and could provide the water and the sewer. And I talked to the gas company, and for a big user like injection molding, they would come to any location basically. But and we found some, like 20-acre sites within the city limits. The problem is that that 20 acres is ringed with residential property. And so the chances of them getting rezoned to industrial, I just told them, I thought it was gonna be very, very difficult to get. And then we started into rural, and then they are like, we've never messed with septic, it scares us, and so forth, so.
My only thing about being inside the city limits is I don't want, we already have a factory in town, the foundry, and I know there's complaints about that. And I think that's why that industrial park was put out there. And,
If they wanna come here, that's where they need to go.
yeah, and so I kind of rather see them go out there than in town.
I would think to the extent that we need to do that, we would divert it somewhere else.
That's
Not
why
even
we were,
consider, not even consider.
Yeah.
But I certainly don't want homeowners to come in and say our life was fine, and now we're being smelled out and our property values have crashed.
Wouldn't be worth it.
Under new business, Tommy, I'm gonna let you read them, and I didn't save my voice just a
Yeah.
little bit.
Tonight, Colin Nichols is here, and he's the director for corporate college for Alamo College, and he's responsible for training programs for what it said, their corporate college, corporate entities. And we've been working for the last 2 or 2.5 years, bringing some training programs here. He has put together, along with Mr. Rogers, who's the welding instructor at the high school, a veterans training program starting January 15th. They also have a tuition of $850 for vets that don't fit this certain time category. And I just wanted the board to listen to Colin, understand what we're doing, and also to think about whether we want to look at some sort of matching grant for people that can't afford $850 to be able to get in. And I'll tell you one story Mr. Rogers, the welding instructor, told me. There's a cook, I guess it's called, he's not a chef at Dairy Queen, he's a cook. And he knew Mr. Rogers, and he said, asked Mr. Rogers when they were gonna have another welding class. And he said, you know, I'm not making enough money for my family, and if I could go through welding class, I could get a better job, bigger paycheck. And Mr. Rogers passed that on to me. So what Colin's going to talk about is the welding program that takes place at night at the high school welding lab. And I've worked all this out with Sherry Bays, and they're totally fine with it. There can't be a commingling of students, adults, and high school kids. That's why night classes, and they meet a couple of times a week. And after 120 hours, they graduate with 2 welding certificates that they can take and get a job, a welding job. Colin, go from there.
Pretty much it. I won't keep people's time. Like I said, I'm Colin Nichols. I do all the training programs for 5 colleges under economic and workforce development with Dr. Zaragoza, who I worked directly for. So this is our second iteration. Our first one was for veterans, any veteran. When we came out here to Floresville High School, and I had veterans going through this program, quite a few. We had about 4 cohorts, and that's all I had to do was be a veteran, and I had to have a training program that is on the targeted demand occupation list that gave them a certification, which these are. They're AWS Certified American Welding Society, and we usually get, some got 2, but it's all the way up to 4, depending on how quick they were able to do this. Mr. Rogers was able to get them through a lot more. The problem with the first veterans grant that I had was just that I had any veteran coming through. So I had people who had 10 years, 15 years, 20 years outside. And we went back to the state after that, said, okay, had a lot of people who went through it. They were vets, they were just trying to hone some skills, not necessarily find a job. So this next -2 that came out, 2.0 for the Veterans Transition Program, was just that, transitioning veterans. They have to have 6 months before they get out, or have been out for 6 months, so 180 days before or after. That way we're hitting the folks that need to be skilled up. And the best time to skill them up is when they're collecting a paycheck. So what happens is the commander gives them half a day off, and they come with me in the evening or in the afternoon, depending on what the program is. Not only am I doing welding, I'm doing IT, A+, Network Plus, CCNA, Cisco courses, also doing heavy equipment operator with the whole cat, so it's not just welding. Welding, we came out here, hopefully to get people from Joint Base San Antonio, come out here because it's easy to work with Mr. Atkins, Mr. Rogers, and doing it at night. Our program at the colleges is always full, so me trying to get welding machines and get them in there is always until we buy more for this boot camp training that we do. So right now we're working with Joint Base San Antonio to do the recruitment, and we're trying to get it started for January 15th. We may have to roll that depending because of the holidays, the marketing and everything. People weren't really signing up, so we're hoping to get a full court flush going with the different military bases here in the area. And you know, it's not a far drive, and for training that's no cost to them, it's probably worth their while. Doing that, Tommy came up with the idea that we open up to what we call open enrollment, continuing education. I said, sure, no problem, but I'm able to spend up to $2,000 per vet. This is not going to cost that. It's $850 per vet, so it's well underneath the ceiling. But for folks who aren't vets, I can put them in the same class. I can commingle them, but they have to pay the tuition. I do that through our open enrollment, but we're going to have it, we'll call it closed enrollment, and they just go on like any other class, and they can sign up and show up the same day that we start the class with the veterans. We have no problem doing that. And then Tommy wanted me to come out and just talk about that, because then the other thing about offsetting some of that tuition. Now I will tell you, $850 is pretty reasonable for a 120-hour welding course. You're getting gas and shielded metal types of certifications. This, going through the academic side, would cost upwards of $4,000 for an academic student. So it's price reasonable. I'm hoping that people who are interested will be able to find $850 to be able to do that. I know I work with Workforce Solutions Alamo. If they're TANF or any kind of qualification there, or unemployed or underemployed, they have funds that can help offset that also. Right now, I need a minimum of 10 to run a class, because We have expenses that have to be met with different costs for each person. So I could lower the class size to 5, but that's gonna change the tuition rate. So I'd rather keep it, at a reasonable number. Mr. Rice can take all up to 20. So we said, let's just ballpark at 10 and see where it comes out to, and that's a reasonable number. So we can go all the way past 10. We can run a cohort. If I get 10 beds, if I get 5 beds and 5 open enrollment, we can run it that way. It doesn't matter to us as animal colleges who's in the seat. When I go to the state, though, people, they're going to reimburse our veterans who have 6 months from getting out or haven't been out for 6 months. Like I said, this is our second time at this. It worked well. The first time working with Tommy, it was great. We've tried to do some other things with funding. And this doesn't have to be just welding. I can do IT out here. I can do pretty much as long as the only requirements is that they're veterans and it's a high demand occupation. It's on the list that Workforce Solutions Alamo puts out every quarter. Targeted demand occupation, they call it. They just don't want me doing basket weaving for that. They want things that they can get a job doing. And it has to be associated with a certification, like heavy equipment operator, IT or CompTIA, A+, Network Plus, those type of skill sets that industry wants certifications.
So this is specifically for veterans?
Yes.
Okay, because the agenda item says welding training for non-veteran.
Yes.
Yes, well, they can pay the $850.
That's why he said the he could co-mingle.
Co-mingle.
And do you have a list of potential employers that would hire the graduates?
Well, I mean, do I have a list right now? No, I don't. What I do have is the list that the state puts out here in the local area, Workforce Solutions Alamo, that is a target demand. So employers go to them saying, we need welders, and that's what makes it on a target demand occupation list.
And what I do is, before that class ends, I work with Workforce Solutions, San Antonio, and they allow these people to put their resume and everything else on their website, and they know what employers are looking for, and we try to use them to match up jobs with graduates.
I do welding at Three Rivers, the federal penitentiary. We go down there and do welding. And one of the programs that we're having a hard time is finding a welding instructor to come in there and weld, because there's so much work. And what these guys get paid from the outside, and what the federal government will pay them to come into a prison and do it, they're like, no way, I'm losing half my income to do this. So I mean, that's how much job demand are out there right now for welders.
I have one. How often, okay, if somebody misses January 15th, will this course be offered again this year? Is it once a year?
It won't start January 15th. I just know we won't get the numbers that we want because of the holidays. I'm gonna have to roll it. So what we do is, once we get, I've got right now, matter of fact, I'll tell you, I have 5 people from here who are interested in the welding, and they're not vets. I have their names, they've called the number. So we're telling them, as soon as we get a hard date, we'll call you, send back, and get you into the class. Right now, because I can't have a class of just non-vets. The whole purpose was to reach out to the vet pool. So.
Has any of them asked for assistance, or they're okay with the?
They know what the prices were, and they haven't said, well, I can't afford or anything like that. So we've been telling them, we're gonna probably roll the date, and we're gonna build to a date instead of, I don't like posting dates and things like this, because then you end up to keep on moving it. We just reach back to them and say, we've got the numbers we needed. Can you start on this date and go from there? And that works pretty well, these types of boot camps and
And
co-ops.
I'm running an ad every week in the Wilson County News, and it's on social media, it's also on our website.
Well, it's working because I've got 5, so.
And so, again, I just want everybody to know that it is just one of the difficulties of trying to market Floresville is that we have a lot of unskilled labor. We don't have skilled labor coming out of our ears, and we need that. So this was one way for me to try to start building a pipeline, having welding classes and welding certificates to attract a company that needs welders to come here to grow their company and so forth. And the other real detriment has nothing to do with this, but has everything to do with high speed and trying to get companies in here that need and want high speed, or they'll go somewhere else.
Well, Spectrum is laying line in town now.
Frontier's already, you can already get Frontier right now.
So, Mr. Nichols, the 850 or the whatever funding we authorize, that's limited to Floresville residents or Wilson County residents, or how does that work?
It doesn't matter to me, you put those kind of guidelines on what you would want.
We'd have to come up with a time limit, like,
Right.
you know, before we do that, I would like to have a presentation, like, what are the, like, the poverty level, are they signed up at the workforce center, are they trying to get a job? You know, I just don't wanna help someone that's not trying to get help. You know, if they're over there going to the workforce center looking for a job and they're interested in it, and then they need a little bit of help, and we have someone refer them to us, I think that'd be a better option than us trying to create that referral. Right, if they're coming from the food pantry because they're getting food, and they're like, hey, so-and-so's trying to get a job, they're getting help, and you get a referral from the food pantry, then that'd be something we could say, hey, you know, maybe we'll pay for half your thing, because you're getting a referral from like the food pantry, St. Vincent de Paul, the workforce center, because they're coming for help and they need to get out of the situation they're in. Instead of us
Will you get
creating.
any kind of discrimination like that? Will you get into some type of discrimination?
One thing they could also do is go to employers. They may have employees that want to promote, but they don't have they don't know where to go. I mean, to get, you know, and some of those guys, you know, that are 19, 20 years old may look at it and say, I can pay the $850. You know, if I can just do it right here in Floresville, but I don't want to drive all the way to San Antonio.
We call it incumbent worker training.
Yeah.
And we have a number of programs to do just for that.
Yeah.
My mechatronics program, which is kind of like robotics, there's 12 programs, 12 courses we do at the Workforce Center. But I've had companies like HEB, Caterpillar, VIA, SAWS, CPS in these courses, and that's exactly what it is. Because, you know, our unemployment rate is 3 point something out around San Antonio, and usually those folks who aren't working usually have reasons why they're not working. So that what they've done is look internally, say, you know what, I know you've been working, you've got a great work ethic, but you're lacking a couple of skills that I need, and I'm gonna send you to this course. So we're on our third year of doing it, and every one of them has been an incumbent worker, not a new hire, but someone's been with a company for a while, because that's what the companies are going to, because they know this person, than versus coming off with a resume saying, and then I'm not sure what they're putting their money into, what they're gonna get. So that's, that works.
I want the board to know that this is just, if there's a help program, I don't expect it to come about tonight, but to hear what the need is, see if there's a need, and then discuss it at a later meeting. But basically.
I'm gonna leave this behind,
Okay.
there's some flyers in there, Tommy, but there's also something I wanted to mention is my small business grant for any business that has less than 100 employees. I have money from the state that they can, if it's a new hire, they can spend up to $1,400 a year, or if they're someone who's been with them more than a year, up to $800, I believe it is, or $700, I have to go back and check the figure. But we've got programs, customer service training, all kinds of things that small businesses are using through the state for money, because they don't have a big training account to do training. But I have the money, so if you know small companies that want to do something here, we can set it up here at night at the school, wherever the place may be.
Great. Oh, man, that's
And
super.
And it's on that flyer's in there also.
And something else I'm doing that doesn't involve Alamo right now is that I've worked with Sherry Bays and a lady, Laura Bippert, who is a FISD coordinator for skills training programs. If students decide, I don't want to go to college, I want to go the skills route for a profession. And we've set up an internship program. And so what basically it's going to work is to say, Laura's going to tell me, I've got 6 kids that want to be plumbers. And basically, I'm going to go out and find 6 plumbing companies that are willing to offer an internship to one of those 6 students that think they want to be a welder. And they'll spend 1 to 2 hours a day for the week for a semester shadowing a plumber. and finding out if they really do want it, or gee, if you have to crawl under houses, I'm not sure I'm really interested. And then from there, then hopefully we can get them into an Alamo training program where they can get their skills and their certificate and go straight into plumbing and hit the road. And hopefully those are